batch of MBA students he addressed. And there he told about an interesting story on a three-leg chicken. I don't know whether you remember some three-leg chicken, right? So I'm not sure whether he might have a different story to share today, but very, very inspiring speaker. His experiences, he's possibly had some very, very close experiences with it in his career, and it's very inspiring. And he's very glad that we have managed to get him here and speak to us. And sir, we have a very young team here. We are a startup, and then we're kind of trying to do something new in India for the first time. And I believe that interaction with you can kind of significantly provide some lateral thoughts for them, and which can be very useful both in their personal as well as their professional careers. So thanks so much for accepting. And briefly, he has been the Director General of Police in Tamil Nadu when he last retired. And after that, he's been very active in the startup ecosystem as well. He's now the chairman, founder of a startup which is getting incubated at IIT Mandi. And startup seems to be running in his family as well. His daughter has a startup. And I think it's very nice that he'll also knows the startup language, and then he'll be able to share his perspective. So, over to you, sir.
So, great afternoon, friends, and thanks to Professor Tillai, who is a fellow Gurukul scholar. That's how I first met him, and we have been in touch over the years. And he had once invited me, as he said, to the Department of Management Studies. And we are also looking forward to getting his guidance for our startup, which is actually based on this concept of equilibrium thinking. So, there was a car which broke down in the desert, let's say the Sahara Desert, and the owner somehow signaled to a mechanic, and after a long time mechanic came, and he just knocked on the bonnet with a spanner. The car chugged back to life. And the owner of the car asked how much. He said $100. So the mechanic said $100. The owner was surprised. $100 just for knocking on the bonnet of my car. He said $1 for knocking, $99 for knowing where to knock. So basically, it's all about that precision of a simple technique that can turn our lives around. So in the year 1980 or so, I began to search for that simple key, a master key to the human mind. So I realized the mind is the most powerful thing. It is the software, it's more than the hardware, it's the software that counts in life. So in that process, in 1981 or so, I discovered the terms be at it. And 13 years later, while trying to discover the full key, I knew be at it is part of the key, but it took me 13 years to discover the other part of the key, which is beat it. And the same syllables, be at it, beat it, two verbal tools, which is the master key to the human mind. All human thought process so far is either positive or negative. This morning, on reflecting on this, I said that when we deal with our negatives and negatives of others, it is stability. When you reinforce our positive, it is dynamism. Equilibrium thinking is the only thought process which combines stability and dynamism. And so there were thinkers who thought of lateral thinking. You have heard of lateral thinking, just thinking out of the box. But you find mostly, terrorists, criminals are the ones who mostly use lateral thinking. Of course, you find creative use also, but mostly the human mind can think very creatively in a destructive manner, more than in a creative manner. And so you find the 9/11 attack, I would say, is one of the most creative, destructive, thoughts that occurred. And so we need to direct the mind so that you also deal with the negative while reinforcing the positive. So over the period of years, I have taught thousands of people, simple village people to professors. I've taken classes in IIT even before Professor Tillai came, and various IIMs, the Association of Management, Ahmedabad, and other places, Madras Management Association. And it was tested also with thousands of people with regard to its efficacy in their lives. So people right from rustic people could understand it and apply it in their lives instantly. So I call this an ATM, anytime meditation or anytime motivation. So you need both meditation for stability and motivation to go faster. So the same tool can be used both for meditation to stabilize you, as I said, to deal with negatives, and also to spur you on to get motivated. So you don't wait for an external motivator. The greatest motivator is within you. The greatest power lies within each of us. But we do not know how to tap it. Until now, we are mostly conditioned positively or negatively. The interactive session, I'm not going to give a PowerPoint presentation, which I usually do. But for this kind of environment and with your level of thinking, I think it straight away go into the thought process and interact with you, so that it becomes more participative and not a one-way monologue. So are we more positively inclined or negatively inclined naturally?
Positive?
You think so? You read today's newspaper?
I think maybe entrepreneurs start thinking positively, I think generally.
You find that there was research done in, you also went to LSE under the Gurukul program, jointly by our alma mater, one of our alma maters, LSE, and the University of Bath, and published about 10 years ago. And they found that entrepreneurs who thought pessimistically, they had a higher success rate. And entrepreneurs who thought optimistically, they took bolder decisions, but their failure rate was higher. So that substantiates the need for a combination of pessimism and optimism. So till now, it is not possible to combine the two because of the contradictory nature of pessimism and optimism. But equilibrium thinking is the first thought process, you can challenge my claim, that combines pessimism and optimism. It is neither pessimistic nor optimistic, it is realistic. So it is like, when you are young, you use cycles, right? You use cycles, you use a dynamo. When does the dynamo work? Beg your pardon? While pedaling. So in any direction you pedal, it will work, right? The dynamo will generate energy. So my challenge was how to turn my brain into a dynamo. Anything positive happens, it will produce energy. Anything negative happens, also will produce energy. So that's where the dynamism comes into being. Now till now, as I told you, lateral thinking, out of the box thinking. Then John Nash, you heard of John Nash? John Nash, the movie was made about John Nash, beautiful mind, schizophrenic genius, was given the Nobel Prize. And he created a mathematical model based on the principle, dare, collaborate. Verbally, it means like my verbal thesis is be at it, beat it. But his is, what is his verbal thesis on which the whole theory was built? Any idea? The game theory, prisoner's dilemma. So what is the verbal basis of it? Like I said, my verbal basis of my thought process. Huh?
Conflict.
Not conflict. One part of it was conflict, dare. The other part was give up, collaborate. So one point, up to a point is dare, and then you give up. Is the opposite of be at it, beat it. Beat it means you overcome, and that addresses the equilibrium between two entities. Equilibrium thinking addresses the entity, the same entity, that is you as an individual, within you. So it works on the principle of complementary opposites. Can you give me an example of a natural complementary opposite? What is a natural in what you find in nature?
Colors, black and white.
Why you go so far? What are you doing right now?
Sitting,
Sitting, beyond sitting?
thinking.
thinking and beyond thinking? What is enabling you to do all this? The most fundamental?
Alive.
No, what's keeping you alive? Breathing. How is breathing similar to what I am describing? Yeah, so inhale is the equivalent of which part? I told you only two tools. What are those two tools? In words. I said be at it, beat it. So inhale is equal to what? Be at it. The breathing in the positive, reinforcing the positive. And breathing out is beat it. So nature itself is configured on the basis of equilibrium thinking. And simple thing like day and night, what is it? Day you are be at it. Night is beat it. All your organs work on the same principle. You have seen your ECG, the up movement. If it is flat, what is it? Anyone has a flat ECG here? Nobody has a flat ECG. So everyone's alive. So it's up, down all the time. So this oscillation is there in nature, even in the functioning of all our internal organs. Now your Indians and Chinese through yoga said that breathing is very important for stabilizing. But nobody discovered that the underlying code is be at it, beat it. That is the USP of equilibrium thinking. The underlying code of why breathing is fundamentally, stabilizes the mind as well as body and spirit is this reason that it works on two processes. Two complex processes happen. Does it happen simultaneously? Is it happening simultaneously? No. Yes or no? Is it happening parallelly? Then in what way is it happening? Sequentially. So if you want to actually leverage on who you are, you should not just have one thought process, positive thinking or pessimistic thinking. You must have a combination of both. And Niels Bohr, a physicist, again Nobel Prize winning physicist, he says it's a swirling of opposites in the human mind that leads to creativity. So over the last 30 years, this is because the swirling of these opposites, suddenly it'll come up from the subconscious. So I thought of this concept of Eqthinomics. What is Eqthinomics? It's the world's first subject to study excellence. And since 2006, I've been evangelizing, advocating, so that various institutes take it up. Now our education system, is it all whole and good and healthy? Even in IIT is supposed to be the ultimate, every young student's ultimate goal is IIT. Is everything very good, hunky-dory? Or is it a BE? What is BE? Broken education system. So Eqthinomics is a patch to cure the broken education system, so that you focus on the ultimate objective, which is excellence. What is excellence? What is excellence? Now you're in the startup. What is the purpose of the startup? It is to make some process better, right? Smoother, easier for other startups, right? That is the vision behind it. So is that not the process driving it is the drive for improvement, for creating change at a faster pace, at lesser cost. So Eqthinomics is based on that kind of principle where yearning for excellence or passion will lead to accelerated learning. Accelerated learning will result in accelerated earning. So the greater the yearning, greater the learning, and ultimately earning. Earning not just in monetary terms, but in terms of your total social impact and so on. So multiple ideas I keep getting because of this churning of the dynamo. So what happens is, till now we are all negatively conditioned. So you agree, Professor Tilley, that we are negatively conditioned? You are aware that, if I tell you not to think about a white polar bear, what are you thinking about right now? Are you thinking about a black polar bear? White. Why are you thinking about something which I told you not to think of? Are you deliberately defying what I'm asking you to do?
Subconsciously.
Subconscious. Your subconscious. So how is your subconscious trained? How is your subconscious trained?
First picture is what you said and then look to the opposite.
So that is what. So your subconscious is trained to be negative. So once you understand that, you will need a flip over. So you don't have a simple tool now in psychology so far. Psychologists don't address the embedded negative. This is called the embedded negative. So to turn over that, flip over the embedded negative, you got to accept the negativity as an important process in growth. And then how to negate the negativity. What is the negation of negativity? What does it result in? So beat it is basically negation of negativity. So you cannot expect this kind of equilibrium happening as soon as you learn it. But you got to practice it. So what are the ways to practice it? Visual. So you practice visually the process, be at it. Connect it with values like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, calmness, whatever is strength. Basically, you've all learnt about SWOT analysis, right? SWOT. But you don't know how to go beyond strength. And even the books are conditioning you to say, think only about strength. So how will you address weaknesses? So most of the time we are not addressing our weaknesses. So at a humanity level and at national leadership level, huge cost is paid by nations. So currently you see the kind of weaknesses our leaders have, they are blind to it. And that results in a huge historic cost for countries, for civilizations. So if you create this kind of awareness through equilibrium thinking, civilization itself will have a better philosophy, better ethos. There will be changes in organizational culture. So you are always judging other people by their strengths or by their weaknesses. When you judge others, you judge them by their strengths or by their weaknesses.
I tend to do it with strengths.
Strengths. Is that always true? You judge yourself by your strengths, but when you look at others, you judge them by their weaknesses. You're just like your subconscious. If your subconscious is already trained negatively, how can you think otherwise? You're a slave to your subconscious. So by the time you're 18, they say you heard 50,000 no's from the people who love you, from your parents, your teachers, friends, peers, and so on, siblings. So how is your brain conditioned? You've heard only 18,000 yeses. So coincidentally, your company's name, congratulations first of all for your birthday. Today's your birthday, right?
Yeah, yesterday, but yeah.
Official birthday. So that is your incorporation day. So why no's is actually about equilibrium thinking. Yes and no's. So the most fundamental thought process in mankind's, in the mind of man is yes and no. When do you start thinking in terms of yes and no? When do you start thinking in terms of yes and no? I didn't get any response from that end of the table.
When you need to make any decision.
No, when in time? When in time? After you're born?
Not after the born. I mean, when we get conscious, when we understand.
In the mother's womb itself, you are sleeping and all that, right? You get tired, you sleep sometimes. And so the brain starts working in the mother's womb or not. So your basic thought process is in terms of yes and no. Sometimes the baby hears some positive vibrations and they say, okay, I like it. That's a yes. Sometimes the mother falls. What happens? That's a no. Or there's a lot of fighting going on between the husband and wife. It affects the psychology of the child or not in the mother's womb. So right before birth also the process begins. So you become helpless, prisoners of your own mind. Unless you consciously, so all training is conscious conditioning and all conditioning is unconscious training. This is one of the principles of equilibrium thinking that I evolved. Can anyone explain what it means? Who are from HR? Who are the people from HR? HR, psychology background? We have only Professor Tillai from management background to explain it, I think.
Could you repeat this again?
All training is conscious conditioning and all conditioning is unconscious training. So everything that happens to you, your brain is absorbing signals, right? Right, I told you from the time you are a fetus, a baby in the womb. You're absorbing many signals, consciously, unconsciously. So if now you're attending a training session, this is a conscious conditioning. But most of the time, 99% of the time, what's happening? No, you are unconsciously being trained. You don't even know it is training. You read the newspaper, that's why you said positive. I said, did you read the newspaper? Yeah. If you read, how many of you still read newspapers? I stopped reading, then I recently, resumed after 5 years. Because if you take a newspaper, in my workshops, I send out the full works, the newspaper, today's newspaper on both sides, and ask them to tick how many positive, how many negative. You know how many people will find anything positive? It will be less than 1% will be, the news will be positive. So how are you conditioning yourself if you are starting your daily diet with consuming the newspaper, consuming the news, whether it's from your digital source or from print paper? Your brain is being trained. How? Already you're negatively trained. On top of that, again, you're subjected every day to the same routine. If we understand the process, then we need this simple tool. This is all based like engineering. All of you are engineering students. So what is the cascade principle? I'm not an engineering student. So you can explain to me what is the cascade principle? You're the technical head, CTO, right?
No,
Now you're not.
no, you're not. I don't know what a cascade principle is.
The cascade principle, say in the spring of a watch, a physical watch, the small energy at the thing, it keeps multiplying, and at the surface level the energy is very high. So it's the same principle for any fountain. So a small change in the innermost core will result in a huge burst of energy at the surface. Now till now, do you find that training changes anything in your life? All of you have gone through different types of training? Yes or no? Yeah, but that's called the training honeymoon. Nothing happens. You get back to the flat within overnight almost after the training. So there is little absorption. Why? Because you are powerfully negatively conditioned already. And you need a simple master key which can help you overcome that. And so you then need to practice it. So visual practice. Everything happens once in the mind and once in reality. So if you practice it in your mind, you need to first know what are your weaknesses. So just you have a pen or you have your mobile phone, just write down your weaknesses. Your perceived weaknesses. It could be an emotional weakness, it could be a habitual weakness. One, two, three. 3 points. So all of you have done? Written 1, 2, 3 points, 3 weaknesses. How many of you say that anger is a weakness? Anger. So how do you use equilibrium thinking to handle that? Be at it is the source code for the positive aspect, and beat it is the source code for handling the negative aspect. So be calm, beat anger. So till now, psychologists didn't address negativity, saying that, because of the embedded negative, the moment you say don't do something, like I said, don't think about white polar bear, you thought only about that. So they avoid negativity. They say, let's go whole hog for positivity. But aren't your weaknesses an important part of you? Are they not an important part of you? Yes or no? So they are part of you, and you have to own it up. And you have to see how you can use it properly. So the more negatives you have, the greater is your human potential. It is not just your positives. You are, an interwoven mixture of positives and negatives. And so if you don't deal with it as a team, your negativities will clash against each other. That's why there's so much of entropy or disorder in human organizations. Suddenly, for no reason, somebody flares up. Suddenly, somebody will, throw in his papers and go away. The whole organization suffers. So, why teams can gel together when everyone knows how to deal with their negativities and help others also with their negativities. And so, be calm, beat anger. So, this is auto command. So, Emily Cohn, the psychologist, did a lot of research on auto-suggestion, but I am the first to coin the word auto-command. So in 1980, when I was about 18, 19, I said, how to put my brain on autopilot so that it is continuously working on a good mode and not dipping into depression or whatever, regardless of whatever happens, because we are not in control of what happens to us, but we are in control, we should be in control of how we respond to what happens to us. So the most terrible thing can happen to you, but you can turn it into a source of strength. So I was drowned to death once in the sea. And next day I did not know why this happened. And I believe in the divine. I said the divine is preparing me for something even greater. And within 1 year I was leading former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi on a red carpet, and a woman steps forward, as you know, who then blows herself up, the world's first human bomb assassination. And I'm thrown in the air with multiple injuries, right from face burnt to my legs badly burnt, and 100 steel pellets still embedded in my body. And each of it could have killed me. There was one man who was walking 18 feet ahead of me, campaign manager for the Member of Parliament at that time, Margadam Chandrasekhar. He turned right to see, probably the same time that I turned right to see, to look for Rajiv Gandhi, where a single pellet hit his spleen and he bled to death without his knowing. He even volunteered to drive the coma to Margadam Chandrasekhar to the hospital, but within half an hour he bled to death. So in my case, I said I am now steel reinforced. So when you put cement, if you don't put the steel, it doesn't get really strengthened, reinforced concrete it's called. So anything negative happens also, you can turn it into a source of amazing strength. And more negative and more negatives you have, the greater your potential. So that when you go through tough times, you don't get broken, but rather you learn maximum that you can from that experience as a unique experience. And that will remake your life and your career. So you see that creativity that came from that so that they were destructively creative. They thought of a woman because a woman would be less suspected. They thought a woman who carries a bomb and not uses a gun. As I was reading a book weeks before that, coincidentally a book by Ludlum, a thick thriller. At the end of all that plots, the intrigue and all that, we find it's a fat woman who is a sniper. But they pick up that story of a woman and they put a bomb on her back. and kill 18 people and seen from hell. And for 6 months I was limping, and even now I have certain places I have some swelling, but I am perfectly all right. I play 90 minutes table tennis on an average day, every day when I'm in Chennai. It has not stopped me from doing anything. My handwriting changed. My good handwriting is gone, and I now scribble because the total shape of my hand changed. But that became a source of rebirth. And I came up from the ashes. Within 9 years, I was introduced to Queen Elizabeth II for the Gurukul scholarship. I was in the inaugural batch, the only civil servant selected. And why was I selected? Again, for a creative idea. So a person who picked me up was an inspector, put me in the back of a jeep because my driver had fled. It was total terror. So everybody is terrified, even the trained cops. They run away, many of them run away, even my driver with the jeep. So I'm put in a very bad jeep belonging to some other inspector. And that inspector tells me, sir, I have to go back. There are many people dying, injured. I can't say yes or no. I was half conscious, drifting between consciousness and consciousness. But a young boy crept into my jeep, held my face, blood-stained face, in his lap. And as I was gasping for water, because the greatest thing that you need when you are lost a lot of body fluid, blood, is water, plain water. That's the one thing you are really, agonizingly asking for. And I asked for water, and I don't know where he got the water. I believe he's an angel, because how did he know that he has to give me only drops of water, an injured man, and a cotton wad. And then when I reached the nearby hospital, he disappeared. So the Friends of Police, the concept I created based on that experience. I said, my life has been spared. How do I create change in the police? And this equilibrium thinking helped me to rebuild my resilience. I was broken for many, many months, emotionally, psychologically. But then this concept of Friends of Police gave new life. Everybody wrote off my career. But in 9 years or from then, from 91 to 6 years, 97, I get the British Gurukul scholarship. And in 2002, I get the Queen's Award for Innovation, the only officer outside the UK to get the first overseas award on the occasion of the Queen's Golden Jubilee. So the Gurukul scholarship was instituted for the India's Golden Jubilee to select 12 future leaders of the country. So these illustrations I've given you from my personal life so that you'll understand that where the rubber meets the road, these principles should work. So I keep generating ideas. It's because of this dynamo. So anyone else wants to share your weaknesses? Something very personal, you don't have to. Something which is common like anger. Procrastination, that's a common thing. Even I procrastinate. So be prompt, beat procrastination. Now if you tell yourself one time that command, it doesn't work, and you don't wait till you get angry to think. See, an army trains in peacetime. It doesn't train when the war occurs. You have to be continually practicing it. It becomes a self-talk. The self-talk is the entry point to your subconscious. So you see, the Shad Helmstetter, he did his entire work on self-talk. He wrote an entire book on self-talk. What you say to yourself matters more than what others say to you. Now what you are saying to yourself about what I am saying matters much more than what I am saying to you. Some of you are saying it's too simple, it may not work. So one man like that, he said it's too simple, it may not work, but let me try. I gave a talk at the British Council, and let me try it in my evening walk in the Ananagar Tower Park for 20 minutes. A very fastidious company secretary of MNC. And he's found it worked, and he ordered a workshop for his top management soon after that. And his family members and colleagues found that he was less difficult to get along with, the boss. And so you begin to start change, self-change, a program of self-change. So you see what is the entry device for the computer, for the laptop? It's the keyboard. For your brains, for your mind, what is it? It is your? Not even senses. Senses keep on, that is unconscious training happens. Sometimes you get the wrong signals and that keeps getting absorbed like a sponge in the subconscious. You go out, the traffic is bad, you'll say this is bad traffic, then you'll blame the policeman, corrupt policeman. So you keep on getting negative messages. But your self-talk is your entry device. So when you keep on feeding your self-talk, that creates powerful change within you. And whatever you want to have change in your lives, your self-talk is the key. But till now, Shad Hemstetter and others did it only on a positive mode. So I am the first to institute this programming language on a binary basis. Just like your computers work on binary language, what is the binary language? 0 and 1. Your mind works on a binary language, what is that? Very simple. Positive, negative, or yes and no. Like your company is now called Y knows. Y stands for yes, is it? Who named it actually? Yeah. So it's yes, no's only. So maybe at a subconscious level, the session on equilibrium thinking might have had an impact on his mind. So what happens is your subconscious is like a child and an obedient servant at the same time. A child understands it one time telling, yes or no. Repeated telling, right? Like that your subconscious. But your subconscious, once it understands, it is an obedient servant. It will translate whatever you want into reality. So you say be calm, beat anger 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, it's not enough. So it says, Thoreau, a philosopher, says, for every 1,000 hackings at the leaves of evil, there is one striking at the root. 1,000 times you use this self-talk. It is one striking at the root of anger or of procrastination or any other weakness. Just one strike. So you might need 10,000, strokes at the root of evil, the negativity, for that change to completely happen, transformation to happen. So the whole theory behind this is called image, performance, substance. All humans consist of 3 indestructible elements. Only the order changes. If you're a criminal or a terrorist, the order is changed, that's all. If you're a corrupt officer, the order is changed. But it's all the same. Image is who you are, your psycho-spiritual self. And it consists of your principles, your beliefs, your morals, your habits, your character, all these things. The psycho-spiritual self. And performance is what you do. Your abilities, your capabilities, your intelligence. And what is substance is what you have. Now, why are you all coming to work for this company? What is the basic reason why you're coming to work for this company? Why? To earn money. That is substance. Yeah, but the fundamental thing is that you need some substance, right? That is the base, but you need something that further should be something satisfying to line with your calling or purpose. That is also there. But the fundamental thing is substance. So image is who you are, performance is what you do, substance is what you have. Now most people are focusing on what? 99% of people are focusing on what? What we have, right? But that is the wrong order. If you focus on, and when some people who are, want better performance, they focus on performance. And, those are workaholic and all that. But if you focus on image, who you are, then you will improve what you do, and if you improve what you do, you'll improve what you have. This is another basic principle of Eqthinomics. So Professor Tilley, I was saying this important principle that if you focus on who you are and improve who you are, you'll improve what you do. And if you improve what you do, you'll improve what you have. So what you have is your substance, your substantive achievements. So all training is focusing on performance, right? That is the reason why there is not much results. Billions of training dollars are wasted. One is because they don't address the subconscious, the negativity of the subconscious. Two, it is focusing not on image, not on who you are, but on performance, your abilities. So it's very superficial. So in the PowerPoint presentation, I'll show the subconscious at the core of the onion of the human personality. There's so many layers above it. But if you impact with values, the subconscious, then the greatest possibility of change in performance as well as in results, in substance, in terms of your outcomes, your earning, your going forward. Now you may think this is all theory. I taught 100 MBAs in a sales team in Karvi, which are dealing with blue chip instruments, financial instruments, and they didn't expect any change. And but within 3 months, the vice president sent me a feedback saying that we have had many gurus, management gurus, marketing gurus teaching us, but there was no change in performance. But after your session, something has happened. Our total sales improved from 4 crores to 32 crores. What is the percentage improvement? 800%. And did I focus on performance? What was I focusing on? Image, who we are. So when we re-engineer who we are, you can't re-engineer your brain, but you can re-engineer who we are. Small changes. And you can start with these binary commands. So once you use the binary commands for about 21 days, your self-talk, till now your self-talk is mostly positive or mostly negative?
Depends. Sometimes positive.
It doesn't depend, it is mostly negative. It doesn't depend on anything. Because you are programmed already negatively. And it will uncoil only. So now when you reverse it and you reprogram yourself, then everything changes. So you change the programming, that will result in a change in thoughts, it will change in emotions, that means emotional intelligence. All of you know the famous concept made famous by Daniel Goleman in 94. 93 I discovered equilibrium thinking in its basic form, not all these thoughts, but some part of it, basically the conceptualization. 94, Daniel Goleman writes a book called Emotional Intelligence, the largest selling non-fiction book at the time, and it becomes an industry. Millions or billions of dollars have been made on just explaining the elephant. But Stephen Covey, in his book, The Greatness Habit, he says that I have surveyed the entire literature on emotional intelligence. I found it all very good, but there is very little to show how you can improve EQ or emotional intelligence. But equilibrium thinking will improve multiple quotients. It will improve your emotional intelligence, because these values like love, peace, calmness, joy, all these things are basically emotional intelligence encapsulated. That means you're tapping into the power inherent in these values. Now you're getting these monosyllables, B and B, to connect with it. And that becomes a reprogramming of your internal emotional language, your spiritual language, your psychological language, your intellectual language. The coding changes. And therefore you begin to do things with greater confidence, greater resilience, and you will not go into either deep depression or great euphoria. You will be in a kind of equilibrium. So anything hits you very hard also, you will bounce back. So it said the harder a ball is hit, the higher it will bounce. So the harder I was hit, the higher I bounced in my life. And today, after retiring, I have reinvented myself as an entrepreneur. And I suddenly got this idea when I was interacting with some fellow other Gurukul scholars, that why don't I create a physical device to measure equilibrium? An app and also a physical device. And then when I checked with these, the serendipity brings to you who you need. So I've got 3 teammates who are, unlike me, was technically challenged. They are technical experts. They worked in health, so this is a deep health tech enterprise, and we are starting almost to this day in IIT Mandi. So the whole thing is equilibrium thinking is copyrighted, trademarked, wordmarked, registered in my name, and it is being taught through all various means. One VIT student in final year, he's still in touch with me. So his name is Raj Kumar. I've never met him in life, but he sent me a mail saying, "Sir, I accessed your website, eqthinking.com. I think now the site is off, we'll have to rebuild it." Very basic site in those days. And some of these thoughts that I spoke were there in that website. But he, being a coder, software engineer student, final year, appearing for several placement interviews. So there are 4 levels of placement interviews, TCS. And the chairman said, "This boy is so good, we must take him into TCS." And he made it. And he did well in both TCS, Cognizant. And now he has reinvented himself as a financial consultant. So he said equilibrium thinking is the most powerful weapon I have found. And he said that he felt different about competing with people from better backgrounds, urban backgrounds, better qualified in those interviews. But he reprogrammed himself understanding this code, be at it, beat it, and he did well. And he taught this to a few classmates who were also nervous. And they came and banged on the door in the night, 12 o'clock, and hugged him and said, "Thanks for teaching us. We have also made it." So it helps, it's a winning formula which turns people into winners in different ways. It could be in relationship issues, it could be at home, it could be at office. So it is help people, realize their potential, emotional intelligence, and also IQ. What is IQ? No, imagination quotient. Imagination, Einstein said, is far more valuable than intelligence. The very fact that you are imagining when you say be calm, you're imagining along with the oxygen, peace and calmness coming in through your nostrils, into your lungs, powering your entire being, reaching the last cell. And beating anger, you're breathing out anger, or you're breathing out the procrastination. So one of the powerful methods of practicing it is breathing. So since we are all used to breathing, now you have this verbal code along with it. So whenever you breathe in the positive, and breathe out the weakness that you wrote in your mobile. Practice it for 21 days, you'll find that your programming has happened and that you are discovered a very effective way for internal change and to realize who you truly are. And you're investing into yourself. So when do you have to do this? Anytime. This is anytime meditation. You don't have to wait till you get angry. You don't have to wait till you have faced the crisis. You practice it in all the small moments. And this improves your decision making, because decisions are made in a split second. But the inputs that go into decision making are made over a lifetime. So you are preparing yourself in all these small moments. It may be between lunch, maybe between walking here to your hostel, or maybe going to a bus, taking a bus or the metro or whatever, sitting in the metro or talking to friends. All the time there is a self-talk happening in you. But till now that self-talk was haywire. It goes this way, that way, depending on your senses, as I said. It goes haywire. A monkey mind. That's how the monkey mind works. Now it's this, now it's that, now it's there. Brain gets confused, the mind gets confused. Now you have focus. So what are the principles of EQ thinking, in addition to what I've already shared, is focus on the locus. The locus of change is deep within us, the subconscious. And once you focus on the positive to overcome the negative, which is be at it, beat it, then you begin to see change happening. Positive change, transformation happening. And you improve in your IQ, imagination quotient, your emotional quotient, your persistence quotient. Now, be at it, beat it is the formula for success in any field. You keep on trying, you will definitely make it. So it's a basic formula for success in any field. But we have now turned it into a programming language to transform our self-talk. So it has been, when I was in charge of IG Social Justice. So the then Chief Minister's Secretary, these guys said, this guy is doing, something innovative. Let us put him in a job where he has no work. So social justice is considered an unimportant job. So on promotion as IG, they put me there. Suddenly I was giving a talk in Vidhana Sauda on something, I don't know whether it's equilibrium thinking or something else. Suddenly the subconscious, will throw up ideas like economics. Like last week, I thought about a couple of weeks ago, I thought of Sense X. What is Sense X?
The barometer for stock market.
No, I didn't say Sense X. Sense X. It is the world's first conceptualization of financial intelligence. Just like Daniel Goleman borrowed an idea of psychologists, emotional intelligence with their permission. This is financial intelligence, Sense X. Do you know that 96% of people are financially illiterate, even people who have studied in IIT and other places?